Jaya Gopi Janapalabha Girivaridhari Jaya Gopi Janapalabha Girivaridhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janapalabha Girivaridhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Kishore Kishori ki jai, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Shri Mati Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Gaurani Kai ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachanine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pastachadeshvatanine. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 6, Chapter 11, Text 19. The chapter is entitled The Transcendental Qualities of Vritrasura. Okay. Okay, please repeat. Text 19. Suresha Kasma Nahino Shivadram. Suresha Kasma Nahino Shivadram. Purastite Varini Maya Mogam. Purastite Varini Maya Mogam. Ma Samsayishta Nagadeva Vajra. Ma Samshayishta Nagadeva Vajra. Syanishpala Kripanarte Vayachna. Syanishpala Kripanarte Vayachna. Suresha Kasma Nahino Shivadram. Purastate Vairini Maya Mogam. Ma Samshayishta Nagadeva Vajra. Syanishpala Kripanarte Vayachna. Okay, word for word. Anybody else want to chant? Okay, word for word meanings. Please repeat. Sura Isha, O King of the demigods. Kasmat, why? Na, not. Hinoshi, you hurl. Vajram, the thunderbolt. Puristite, standing in front. Vairini, your enemy. Mai, at me. Amogam, which is infallible. Your thunderbolt. Ma, do not. Samsayishtaha, doubt. Na, not. Gada iva, like the club. Vajraha, the thunderbolt. Syat, may be. Nishpalaha, with no result. Kripana, from a miserly person. Arta, for money. Iva, like. Yachna, a request. Now my Paramatma just told me that we forgot to chant the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is kind of like Jud Bharata. We were reading in the 5th canto that he would do everything backwards just to pretend that he was a idiot, if you will, a dullard. He would wash his hands and then pass stool, or do everything backwards. So forgive me for doing things a little backwards today. So Suresha Kasma Nahino Shivadram Purastate Vairini Maya Mogam Masam Shayishta Nagadeva Vadrasyan Nishpala Kripanarte Vayachna. Translation: O King of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Although your attack upon me with your club was certainly useless, like a request of money from a miser, the thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubts about this. Okay, please repeat. O King of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Although your attack was like a request of money from a miser, the thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubts about this. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. When King Indra threw his club at Vritrasura, Vritrasura caught it in his left hand and retaliated by using it to strike the head of Indra's elephant. Thus, Indra's attack was a disastrous failure. Indeed, Indra's elephant was injured and thrown back 14 yards. Therefore, even though Indra stood with the thunderbolt to hurl against Vritrasura, he was doubtful, thinking that the thunderbolt might also fail. Vritrasura, however, being a Vaishnava, assured Indra that the thunderbolt would not fail. For Vritrasura knew that it had been prepared in accordance with the instructions of Lord Vishnu. Although Indra had doubts because he could not understand that Lord Vishnu's order never fails, Vritrasura understood Lord Vishnu's purpose. Vritrasura was eager to be killed by the thunderbolt, manufactured according to Lord Vishnu's instructions, because he was sure that he would thus return home back to Godhead. He was simply waiting for the opportunity of the thunderbolts being released. In effect, therefore, Vritrasura told Indra, "If you want to kill me, since I am your enemy, take this opportunity. Kill me. You will gain victory, and I shall go back to Godhead. Your deed will be equally beneficial for both of us. Do it immediately." End of purport. So it says here that Vritrasura was eager to be killed by the thunderbolt. So, how many of us are eager to be killed? Or to meet death in any particular way? So this seems a little odd, that Vritrasura is actually very eager to die. But it's expressed here why he was eager to leave his body. Because Vritrasura was convinced that he was going to go home back to Godhead. So, why is he so convinced? I mean, we all say like that, "Oh, I'm a devotee in this lifetime, so I'm not afraid of death. It doesn't matter if I die when I'm 20 or 40 or 60 or 80, because, I'm a devotee. See, I wear tilak. And I chant Hare Krishna. So when death comes, I'm going back to Godhead, so I'm not afraid of death." We can quote Prabhupada, left, right, and center, that if you simply chant 16 rounds a day and follow these 4 regular principles, I guarantee you that at the end of this life, you will go back to Godhead. So we have that kind of pep talk every morning with ourselves, just in case death comes today. However, deep down inside, we all know, right? That when does one go back to Godhead? One has to be totally convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt about their relationship with Krishna. Krishna himself, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, says that when one is engaged in my ananya bhakti, pure devotional service, then he will come and live with me. He begins the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita saying that, "Please hear from me how you can know me in full, free from all doubt." And why do we want to know Krishna in full, free from all doubt? Because then he says in the 18th chapter that when one is in full consciousness of me, and full consciousness means full consciousness, it means free of doubt. If you have a cup full of milk, it's 100% milk. You can't say it's 80% milk and 20% orange juice. Well, that's not a cup full of milk. So to be full, it has to be 100%. So in the 18th chapter, 55th verse, Krishna is saying we have to be in full consciousness of him through the practice of Ananya Bhakti. And when one is in full consciousness of me, Krishna says, then he comes to my kingdom and he doesn't take birth again. So how do we become in full consciousness of Krishna? Well, that's what he's stating at the very beginning of the 7th chapter, that when, please hear how you can practice this bhakti yoga system in full consciousness of me, completely free from all doubts. So Vritrasura, unlike us, he's very confident that he is now fully conscious of Krishna, free from all doubts. So he's ready to meet with death. So why is he so confident about that status of Krishna consciousness. Yesterday's verse, Vritrasura said that he will, how did it start here? That he was saying to Indra that if you were to kill me here in battle, I'll be relieved of any karmic reactions that I still have in my bank account. And most importantly, I will gain fortune. How will I become fortunate? Because I will be able to receive the dust from the lotus feet of great devotees like Narada Muni. Vritrasura is recognizing and acknowledging that why is he going back to Godhead? Was it because he was a Maha Sadhaka, superstar sadhaka? Did he, what is getting him back to Godhead? He's acknowledging in yesterday's verse that by the dust of the lotus feet of the great devotees such as Narada Muni. Srila Prabhupada in yesterday's purport began the purport by saying, quoting Narottam Das Thakur, that I am the servant of the 6 Goswamis, and the dust of their lotus feet provides my 5 kinds of food. A Vaishnava always desires the dust of the lotus feet of previous acharyas and Vaishnavas. So here, Narottam Das is giving us a solution to some of our economic problems. I don't know about here, but in some temples, the management complains that the groceries cost too much. Going to the market to buy all the groceries is very expensive, so then they choose to, on the Sunday feast, just serve potatoes and rice because it's very cheap. But here, Narottam Das is solving that problem. He says, simply take the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, and that's your 5 kinds of food. No need to go boga shopping. So Vritrasura is confident of his return back to Godhead because he understands the real science of devotional service. And what is the most important factor in the science of devotional service? There's so many, many, many factors involved, but the most important factor is the mercy of an advanced Vaishnava. So in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that there are 3 items which are very powerful, that these 3 items alone can immediately bestow pure Krishna, ecstatic Krishna prema on the recipient. So these 3 items are Bhakta Padaduli, the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava; Bhakta Padajala, the water that's washed the feet of a Vaishnava; and Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha, the remnants of the food that was eaten by a Vaishnava. So these 3 items, the dust of the lotus feet, the water that washed the lotus feet, and the remnants of the food eaten by the Vaishnava. These 3 items, he says, are so powerful that simply by coming in contact with them, ecstatic love for Krishna manifests in the heart of the recipient. So, is this to be taken literally? That one just takes the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee? Is it figurative? It's literal, exactly. It's both, but it's literal. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is being very straightforward and frank. He's being very literal. The dust of the lotus feet of an advanced devotee. So we have the association of devotees around us, hopefully all the time. We all have opportunity to make advancement. But here is specifically describing the effects of the presence, the personal presence of a pure devotee, actually an Uttama Bhakta. We can benefit from the association of all devotees, but primarily the association of an Uttama Bhakta is what's really being stressed. So there's 3 levels of devotees: first class, second class, third class. So the Uttama Bhakta refers to one who is at the topmost level of realization. There's 9 stages in the progression or maturation of bhakti. Probably have all heard, but never harms to repeat something we've heard. First step is the initial faith, called Shraddha. Just that initial faith that, like, why did you even come here? There was some initial faith that, well, maybe these people know something that I don't know. Let me go check it out. Then there's sadhu sangha. Let me associate with the devotees, hear from them, hang out with them, whatever. Then there's bhajana kriya, the third stage. Let me imitate the activities of a devotee. They chant Hare Krishna, let me chant Hare Krishna. They attend Bhagvatam class, let me attend Bhagvatam class. They go to Mangal Arti, let me go to Mangal Arti. Then when one is actually serious and they now want to make it a discipline, they get it and say initiated, then they enter the stage of anartha nivritti, where one is actually seriously cleansing the heart of all the anarthas and doubts that are lingering in the heart for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Long path of anartha nivritti. Then after that, the sadhaka enters the nishta stage, where one's Krishna consciousness is steady. Not that some days I'm totally ecstatic about Krishna and the other day I'm like, I don't know, do I really believe there's this blue person that wears a peacock feather? And, if I go home and visit my parents, am I really going to be able to explain that to them? Like, yeah, Mom, you're probably right. He probably doesn't, run around with no shoes and play with cows. So many doubts will haunt us. But when one reaches the nishta stage, their consciousness, not just their practices, but also their consciousness is steady. It can't be blown away by the wind or something like that. Then after that, the sadhaka enters the stage of ruchi, where one has such a strong affinity for Krishna, they can't go elsewhere. It's just not possible. Nadanam, najanam, nasundaram. I have no attraction to anything in the material world. I just attracted like a iron filing is attracted to a magnet. Then the next stage after ruchi, the sadhaka enters the stage of asakti, which means attachment. It means stuck, glued together like with super glue. Can't be ripped apart. And one actually, in the stage of asakti, has some understanding actually of what their rasa with Krishna is. They are attracted to particular gunas and rupas, forms, and gunas, qualities, and leelas, pastimes of the Supreme Lord according to a certain taste or rasa. Then that's where sadhana stops. Then there's 2 more stages that are no longer sadhana, but they're the sadhya, or the goal. So first one is called bhava. Bhava means one's actually experiencing ecstatic emotions in their relationship with Krishna, in a particular rasa. In their heart, they're actually experiencing the emotions that come with that specific rasa. One in such a stage is liberated. One cannot experience bhava bhakti if they have even a little bit of bodily identification remaining in their heart. They're still embodied, but they don't identify with the body. And then the final stage is full-blown Krishna prema, where one can actually meet Krishna in person. He can actually appear to them and reciprocate with them, even though they're still embodied. So these 9 stages of maturation of bhakti, the first 7 are called sadhana, the last two are called sadhya. The uttama bhakta, the topmost bhakta, is in those last 2 categories, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. That is the definition of an uttama bhakta. Then the majjhima bhakta is middle class, second class bhakta, from asakti going down to ruchi or nishta, and then the kanishta bhakta below that, still struggling with anarthas. So although we can benefit from the association of all devotees, and we should feel that way, we should never feel, I can't benefit from the association of any devotee, even if that devotee is lesser than us in advancement, even if that devotee is junior to us. How will we benefit from their association? Do they have something to teach us? Are they going to give us mercy? No, but the junior devotees will give us an opportunity to serve them by distributing mercy, or by speaking and teaching and helping and counseling. So we can benefit from associating with devotees less than us. We can benefit by associating with devotees equal with us. We can benefit by associating with devotees who are more advanced than us. But here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is particularly referring to the Uttama Bhakta, literally the dust and the water that has washed the feet of the devotee, and the remnants of the food stuffs that the devotee has eaten are so powerful that they can immediately awaken Krishna prema in the heart of the recipient. So I believe it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur that says that an Uttama Bhakta, they can bestow Krishna prema on anybody. Literally anybody, even an animal. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was just going through the forest chanting Hare Krishna, and the tigers and the lions and the whatever creatures are there in the forest jumped up on their back legs and put their front legs up in the air. Haribol, Haribol. It's not an exaggeration. So an Uttama Bhakta can bestow ecstatic prema on anybody. An Uttama Bhakta, let me clarify, an Uttama Bhakta who's on the platform of prema. Because there's 2 types of Uttama Bhaktas, one on bhava, one on prema. That devotee who's on the platform of prema, they can bestow ecstatic prema on anybody. Then that Uttama Bhakta who's on the bhava platform, he can bestow bhava on devotees. And he can raise the non-devotees to the platform of ruchi. Very powerful. If such persons are going out preaching, they can raise non-devotees to the level of ruchi. And all of us who aren't on bhava and prema and who are on some level of sadhana, we can only bestow upon others shraddha, some level of shraddha. So the more advanced the devotee is, say a majjhima bhakta, they can bestow a pretty good level of shraddha on people. And those who are at lower levels of advancement, kanishta bhaktas, they can barely just bestow the initial shraddha. So this association of Maha Bhagavat or Uttama Bhaktas is extremely important in spiritual life. Because from them, if we can get the dust of their lotus feet or the water to churn amrita that has bathed their feet, or the Mahaprasadam, the food remnants that they have eaten, remnants of the food that they have eaten, great benefit is done. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Krishnadas Kaviraj says that despite how advanced one becomes, a most important principle in spiritual life is that one gets the association of more advanced devotees. It's actually the catalyst as we're trying to progress from the initial faith up to the 9th platform of prema. That association of advanced devotees is the catalyst which makes us progress from one stage to the next. So now we might lament that, well, I don't see any Uttama Bhaktas around me. Uttama Bhakta is very high platform. Uttama Bhakta means one's chanting Shuddhanam. The symptoms of Uttama Bhakta is that when they chant Hare Krishna, they're actually experiencing Krishna. Tears of ecstasy come from their eyes. They're completely off the bodily platform of life, free from the 3 modes of material nature, free from the 4 defects of committing mistakes, having imperfect or limited senses, being illusioned, having the cheating propensity. That means every word they speak is flawless. From the Uttama Bhakta, it's said that the sound vibrations that emanate from the lips of such a devotee, why are they so powerful? Because the sound vibrations that emanate from the lips of such an Uttama Bhakta are saturated with the saffron mercy particles that emanate from the lotus feet of Krishna. So just the sound vibration from the lotus mouth of a pure devotee is enough to kick out all the doubts and all the anartas that exist within the heart of the conditioned living entities and can immediately awaken them to their real identity. So this association of Uttama Bhaktas is extremely necessary. So when will we get the association of such Uttama Bhaktas? We can't just, go on the internet and order it with our credit card. So Krishna's in the heart of every living entity. And when he sees the desire within the heart, then he reciprocates. So we actually need to feel the necessity. The basic problem we have in our spiritual life, it's not that we don't have, the philosophy and we have so much facility. I mean, it's outrageous how much facility we have to practice. I mean, we're not living in a country where there's government men outside the door seeing who comes and who goes. We don't have, microphones in the walls, spying on us to see if we're chanting Hare Krishna. There's some countries where it's completely illegal, right? To practice Krishna consciousness. We have such facility here with freedom of religion in America. We can go out and we can distribute books. Some countries, as soon as you pull a book out of your book bag, you're in jail or a concentration camp or something. Seriously. And we can do Harinam Sankirtan on the streets. It's an incredible facility that we have. So we can't say our spiritual life is hampered because we don't have such facility. Why is our spiritual life hampered? Our spiritual life is hampered because we're complacent. We're really, really complacent. We're really thinking this is hunky-dory, what's going on here, and I don't need anything more. But actually, we should be severely crying for the association of Uttama Bhaktas. And where there's that sincere hankering due to a feeling of need, then the Lord will reciprocate. The Uttama Bhakta doesn't just, fall out of the sky and appear for no reason. Krishna sends his Uttama Bhakta when he sees that the sadhakas are severely hankering for that. Krishna himself does that. Parichanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. He comes, he says, yes, I do come to kill demons, that's a fact. I appear in this world for the sake of killing demons, and dharma samstarpanartaya. I come to reestablish the principles of religion. But the real reason I come, paritranaya sadhunam, because I perceive, over there on planet Earth, I perceive some of my devotees, and they are crying for my association. They are in so much desperate need for my association that they feel they can't live one more moment without me. That kind of need. That kind of need where the devotee says, I literally cannot live another moment without my Lord. One cannot eat, one cannot sleep. They're just like devastated. It's explained when Krishna left Vrindavan that Radharani and the gopis and residents of Vrindavan in general, they became like statues, like wooden dolls. They couldn't even eat, they couldn't sleep, they become emaciated, so skinny, emaciated, emaciated. They couldn't live one moment without him. And Lord Chaitanya also prayed like that, right? That I'm the proof that I don't love Krishna. Here's the proof that I don't love Krishna, is that I haven't given up my body. If I really loved Krishna, I would just die right here because I can't live without him. But the fact that I'm still maintaining my body is proof that I don't really love Krishna. So the point being that the sadhaka has to actually severely hanker for higher association. And in this way, Krishna will send such higher association. There's no other reason if we're finding ourselves devoid of such higher association, except for our lack of hankering. And I was noticing in yesterday's purport, we just read a sentence or two, that it says that a Vaishnava always desires the dust of the lotus feet of previous acharyas and Vaishnavas. So now one might ask, how does one get the dust of the lotus feet of a previous acharya? Somebody who's not even around anymore physically. Of course, there's still the literal and the figurative. So Srila Prabhupada, for example, may not be, biologically present with us anymore, but we do have his Archa Vigraha. And every day at Guru Puja, of course, many of us just do it mechanically, but it would be nice if we didn't just do it mechanically. We come up to Prabhupada every morning at Guru Puja, and we offer some flowers at his feet as a sign of offering myself. Let me offer my body, my mind, and my words in your service. We're offering the flowers at Prabhupada's lotus feet in the mood of, I am offering my body, mind, and words to you, Srila Prabhupada. And then we touch his feet to our head. We put the dust of his lotus feet. Now we're doing that every day, yet we're not feeling ecstatic prema manifesting in our hearts. So does this mean that Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet are no longer potent? It depends on the consciousness of the devotee. For example, the holy Dham. Krishna has his original Dham in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. That is obviously full potency. When Krishna comes to the material world, he brings Vrindavan Dham with him. And so 5,000 years ago, when Krishna was on the planet Earth with his Vrindavan Dham, that Vrindavan Dham was exactly the same potency as Goloka Vrindavan. When Krishna is personally present, the holy Dham on planet Earth, the manifest Dham on Earth, is exactly the same as the holy Dham in the spiritual world. And anybody who existed at that time when Krishna was present in Vrindavan, anybody who was present at that time, be they devotee or non-devotee, they got equal benefit from that potency. Now, Krishna is no longer manifest in Vrindavan. That was 5,000 years ago, right? So now we still have that same Vrindavan Dham in northern India. Does it have the same potency as when Krishna was here personally? It does. It has the same potency, however, there's a difference. When Krishna was personally present in that holy Dham, anybody, without even intending to, benefited from the potency of the holy Dham due to Krishna's presence. Now that Krishna is not personally present, manifested, I should say, in that holy Dham, the potency of the holy Dham will be revealed and will benefit us according to the degree of our consciousness. So if an advanced devotee goes to Vrindavan and a non-devotee goes to Vrindavan, although the potency is the same, the non-devotee will not benefit as the actual devotee benefits, because now that potency will only reciprocate according to the consciousness of the person who enters the Dham. That's why it's very much warned that if you go to Vrindavan or any of the holy Dhams, that you should only go for 3 days so that we don't accidentally commit offenses. Because our mind is always critical, you know? You go to like downtown Chicago, the mind is always criticizing. Oh, look at this street is all broken here, right? And this building is dirty here. And look at these people over here, they're misbehaved and this and that. But there's no real aparad. But now you go to Vrindavan, and we take our mind with us. And at first it's like, oh, wow, this is far out. Look at, wow, nice, ecstatic. And after a few hours, we're like, oh, look at that building over there. It's all decrepit and falling apart. And look at that road over there. And look at those people over there. They're misbehaved. And look at this over here. It's dirty. Immediately, aparad. And that's aparad. Because everything in the Holy Dham is made out of Chintamani. And the Vrajabasis are all Krishna Bhaktas. So the mind immediately becomes offensive. So what I'm saying is that potency of the Holy Dham will be covered. So just as the potency of the Holy Dham is revealed according to the consciousness of the person who enters the Holy Dham, well, similarly with the Archa Vigraha. The Archa Vigraha is fully Prabhupada, it's fully Radha and Krishna. The potency is there, but we don't feel the potency, and therefore we don't benefit from the potency because of our lower consciousness. So every morning when we sing the Guru Vandana prayer, one of the lines is, Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite, that from the lotus mouth of such a devotee, that from him, the pure devotee, ecstatic prema emanates. But do we perceive that? We're in Guru Puja, and we're singing to Prabhupada, Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite, that from you ecstatic prema emanates. But do we perceive that? If we were perceiving that, then it would reflect off of us, and we'd be exhibiting symptoms of prema bhakti. So, the point being we have to have our consciousness in alignment. So the personal association of a pure devotee will benefit everyone who comes in contact with that pure devotee. When the pure devotee is no longer manifest, but is still present in the form of his words, in the form of his archa vigraha, it requires that we do some work in order to get that benefit of his association. It is not that Srila Prabhupada is just a statue on the Vyasasan. It is not that his books are just academic knowledge. But we have to do the work of purifying our consciousness so that we can get that proper perception and proper benefit. And it begins with proper association of the devotees that are in our presence and getting their mercy, of anyone who's more advanced than me. And if you can't find somebody that's more advanced than you, well, then you should be fully engaged in giving mercy to others if you're the most advanced devotee. But surely we can find somebody who's more advanced than us and learn the science of getting their mercy. Because we can only get Krishna's mercy from the mercy of the devotees. And we can only get the mercy of more advanced devotees, if they're not in our personal presence, by getting the mercy of the devotees who are in our presence, who are at least a little bit more advanced than us. And what does that association, one of the things that association does is give us the desire to really hanker properly for higher association. Because only with that higher association are we going to make advancement. So Vritrasura is confident that he's going back to Godhead. Not out of his own confidence in his own abilities. He's not proud. He has no confidence in himself, but he's confident that he's going back to Godhead due to the mercy of great devotees like Narada Muni by getting the dust of their lotus feet. So we'll stop there and see if there's any. Sorry, it's kind of like a spontaneous class today, so not maybe a little disjointed. I apologize if it was a little disorganized, but any questions or comments? Himanshu.
Hare Krishna. Welcome back. Thank you for your class. I have a bunch of questions, but there's two that are floating in my mind most prominently. The first is, just personally speaking, I have the faith that there's many Uttamadhikaris on the planet, and out of those many Uttamadhikaris, some are more inspiring than others, just for whatever reason, because of my conditioning. So when you hear the lectures or the words of those particular devotees, how do you, although they're not biologically present with you, how do you connect to their personal selves through their words and their lectures so that you get the most, like you were saying, most benefit? Because our consciousness is very low. So although Prabhupada is fully present in his Archa Vigraha form, even though we listen to Prabhupada lectures, we're not always fully accessing the mercy. So that was my first question. Mm-hmm. Should I tell you my second question?
Let's address that one first. So if you're hearing from a devotee, the best, if I understood your question properly, the best way to allow the words of that devotee that you're hearing from, like on a recording, you're saying, right? Not face-to-face hearing. But if you're hearing from a devotee not face-to-face, but through a recording or what have you, reading their books or something, the best way you can benefit from their words is if you somehow serve that devotee, have a relationship with that devotee. There may be some benefit from hearing from a devotee that you've never met. You don't know him from Joe on the street. There will certainly be some benefit, but the benefit will exponentially increase if your heart is connected with that devotee. So how does your heart connect to a devotee? Through service attitude. So Srila Prabhupada said that when one is very serious about following and serving the mission of the spiritual master, that is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So similarly, serving the desires of the devotee, of that devotee, is tantamount to having their presence. We can say, oh, well, Prabhupada's not here anymore, so I can't get his association. But the real way you associate is by fulfilling the desires of that person. We're meditating on nama, guna, rupa, lila, but the most important thing to meditate on is the desire of that devotee. What's Lord Chaitanya's desire? What's our acharya's desires? That desire is, please, 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 let's bring Krishna consciousness to every conditioned soul on the planet. They're just crying out of compassion for the conditioned souls. It's all they want. They don't want anything. All they want is please go out and give Krishna consciousness to others. Of course, first we have to be Krishna conscious so that we can give them something, powerful. So you can hear from many, many, many devotees, but one should understand what is the real mission of that devotee and try to serve that. And it'll affect our heart more. And there was a second question?
Beautiful answer. Thank you. Your answer actually brought up another question, but I'll ask my original second question, and then if no one else has questions, I'll hog the mic. My second question is in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the chapter where Uddhava visits Vrindavan, and you kind of referenced it a little bit. In one particular purport, Prabhupada is, because there's this whole mystery, it's like, does Krishna ever leave Vrindavan? Does he not leave Vrindavan? Prabhupada addresses it in his purports. And then he uses this term, and I've always been wondering what this means. Prabhupada says Krishna never leaves Vrindavan because even when he went to Mathura, he was present in Vrindavan in his Bhava Rupa form. Would you be able to explain what this Bhava Rupa is? Always wondered what that is.
Even we experience that in ordinary life when a loved one goes away. A loved one's going to go take a trip somewhere. We're not going to see them for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever it is. We actually feel more connected with them because we're meditating on them all the time. Right? So, similarly, Krishna was always present in Vrindavan because where is he present? Where is Krishna present? Where will you find Krishna? Even today, huh? Yeah. In the hearts of the devotees. That's where he really lives. So when Krishna was taken away from Vrindavan by Akrura, the residents of Vrindavan, especially the gopis, they were even more meditative on him out of desperation that now I don't have his association. So that's where Krishna was present, where that bhava was actually being expressed. So bhava rupa means the form that Krishna is existing in according to the bhava of the devotee. He's reciprocating. See, most of us have a blank slate in our heart. So Krishna reciprocates with that. I don't see Krishna anywhere. Even I'm on the altar dressing the deities, I'm not perceiving Krishna because our heart is like steel framed. But a devotee who actually has bhava, again, bhava means emotions according to a particular rasa. So there's gopi bhava and there's gopa bhava and vatsalya bhava, etc., etc. So according to the bhava of that devotee, Krishna manifests a particular unique form. So it's not possible for Krishna to be away from Vrindavan because that's where the bhava bhaktas and premi bhaktas exist. Okay, Nityananda Prabhu.
Usually I have application-related questions. This one's not. So, in Bhagavad Gita and in Guru Ashtakam, we hear about the 4 kinds of foodstuffs. And Narottam Das Thakur talks 5. Which is the 5th one?
Yeah, I was wondering that myself. The 5 kinds of food. Narottam Das said the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees are my 5 kinds of food. So, like you said, Chatur Vidha, or usually Chatur Vidha, Sri Bhagavad. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to ask Narottam. I don't know if it means like the 5 flavors: sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, salty. It might be that.
Those are 6 rasas.
Oh, those are 6. What's the 6th one? I missed one.
So sweet, bitter, salty, sour, I think pungent something, and one more.
We're missing the 6th one. Stringent.
Astringent.
Astringent. Yeah, and then the 4 kinds of food usually that we hear of are chewed, licked, sucked, drink. I don't know. Mystery. It's a what do you call it? It's an average between 4 and 6. That's what it is. Okay, anything else? Jai Jagannath Prabhu.
You were mentioning how the Uttama Bhagavata chants the Shuddhanam, but sadhakas on the stage of Ruchi can also be, will be also chanting the Shuddhanam, because there's like different levels of Shuddha, of course, and my understanding was that Shuddha Bhakti begins at the stage of Ruchi, because even like the verse from the Bhagavatam was speaking of the Madhyamadikari, and it says that they have prema for the Lord. And our acharyas described that prema means they have Shuddha Bhakti for the Lord. So they're now on the topmost platform of devotion. But they have Shuddha Bhakti. So I was a clarification on the Shuddha.
Yes, let's clarify that. One can be practicing Shuddha Bhakti. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're chanting Shuddha Nam. What is Shuddha Bhakti? Okay. Shuddha Bhakti means we're not mixing it with karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, this yoga, that yoga, other processes of God realization. So Prabhupada said, all of my disciples, somebody asked Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? And Prabhupada's answer was, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? That's how many pure devotees there are. He said, all of my devotees are pure devotees. What did that mean? He meant all of my disciples are practicing Shuddha Bhakti, because that's all I teach. I don't teach, mishmash, hodgepodge things. So in one sense, so we're all practicing, hopefully, we're all practicing Shuddha Bhakti. But the definition of a Kanishta Bhakta means one of the definitions of a Kanishta Bhakta, I should say, is, or one with Kanishta Adhikari, is one who is not practicing necessarily Shuddha Bhakti. They might come to the temple, render some service in the kitchen, give some donations. They might even have a little deity at home, but they're also engaged in some demigod worship and some other type of jnana, and they're thinking acts of charity is also part of their spiritual life, mundane charity. It's not Shuddha Bhakti. So when one's practicing Shuddha Bhakti, they still have to go through the different levels of realization of Kanishta, Majjhima, Uttama. So my understanding was that unless and until one has completed the stage of asakti, there's still anartas in the heart. And when there's anartas in the heart, that impedes one from actually chanting Shuddha Nam. One's chanting Namabhas, and one can chant very, very, very nicely Namabhas without offenses. Shuddha Nam doesn't just mean without offenses. It means chanting in ecstatic love for Krishna. Nam Abbas has a spectrum. Nam Aparad means like Mayavadis and people like that, non-devotees who chant Hare Krishna as a profession. They have a totally wrong conception of what the holy name is. That's Nam Aparad. Nam Abbas is we have the proper conception of the holy name. We know why we're chanting. We know what the goal of the chanting is. But due to my weakness, I commit offenses. The biggest one is we don't pay attention. How many mantras did we chant this morning? How many rounds times 108? That's how many mantras we chanted this morning. How many of them did we actually pay attention to and fully hear? Hopefully 0.1% at best, some of us, right? We don't even listen. We don't hear the Maha Mantra properly. So inattentiveness is a big, big aparad that we're mostly committing. So namabas means you're purposely trying not to commit offenses, but still sometimes you commit offenses. And even you're not committing offenses, still you're not chanting in ecstasy. It's just kind of a plateau. But when one is actually completely free from anartas, which means the threshold into the platform, the level of bhava, then one can actually chant premanam with real ecstatic feeling. That when one chants Hare Krishna, they're experiencing Krishna. That's real Shuddhanam. So it might say that one's chanting Shuddhanam in the stage of, sadhana, but I think that's really referring to we have the proper conception, we're not making offenses, we're chanting properly. But it doesn't mean that we're experiencing ecstasy while we're chanting. That's the real Shuddhanam. That's my understanding. If I'm incorrect, I would not mind having some shastra.
I'm more just for discussion purposes. Like in the Shishashtakam, we hear there's a gradation of advancement being presented. And at this stage, the Nandanam Najanam Nasundaring verse is the stage of Ruchi. So there's the mature world can't charm him, and then Ahaitu Ki Bhakti, he's performing causes devotion to the Supreme Lord. So there are different levels of Shuddha. Like the word Shuddha is a very broad term.
Mm-hmm.
And so he may not be experiencing the highest ecstatic emotions, but he's experiencing enough of reciprocation from Krishna that the mature world can no longer charm him. And unless he commits offenses, he has taste. So like Shuddhanam Ruchi. So the name, unless he's getting taste from the name, then how is it that he's able to maintain his disenchantment from matter?
All of us are chanting Shuddhanam then, because Prabhupada would even say himself, here's our challenge. You please chant Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. See how long you'll last. You can try this at home. This is an experiment you can try at home. Chant Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. See how long you'll last. But here we are. We're chanting the same Hare Krishna mantra for at least 2 hours a day for how many decades? Or even just how many weeks for any new bhaktas? They couldn't do that. There's no way somebody's going to take a sound vibration and repeat it for more than 5 minutes if they weren't getting something from it. So we're all experiencing something from the holy name, even though we commit offenses. Why? Because we're receiving it from Lord Chaitanya. That's the mercy. We're not just, receiving it from a Mayavadi or something. We're receiving the holy name from Lord Chaitanya. So despite all our offenses, there's power there. So yes, you could say we're all chanting Shuddhanam then. But realization of the Shuddhanam is at the bhava and prema stage, when one actually experiences the ecstasy. What we're chanting before that, you can say technically is Shuddhanam. We're not mixing it with other things. We don't have misconceptions about what the Hare Krishna mantra is. We're not giving mundane interpretations on it. But we're not experiencing it in full. So the full-blown experience of Shuddhanam is for the bhava and prema stage. Below that, there's still a covering on our tongue. Our tongue is still covered, so we're not tasting the sugar candy properly. It's sugar candy, but it tastes like bitter poison or something. The sugar's pure. There's nothing contaminating the sugar. It's pure sugar. But my tongue tastes it to be like bitter, neem leaf or something. So the holy name is pure. It's Shuddhanam. That is what we're chanting because it's given by Lord Chaitanya. We are all chanting Shuddhanam. But our tongue is still covered. So when will that tongue be uncovered? That's the bhava and prema stage. Before that, there's still some covering. Even if it's a thin covering.
Yeah, there are different levels of sadhana. There are different levels of sadhana, so I'm not trying to say that all sadhakas are chanting Shuddhanam. That's definitely. But the only difference I see with what you're saying when I'm asking is that we chant and we're still charmed by matter. Just as Krishna, we've been studying chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. So the Nishkama Karma Yogi, he's still actually charmed by matter, but he's keeping his consciousness fixed because he has an objective of becoming fully self-realized. And then Krishna speaks of him in text 52 and 53 of the Gita. When that charm is removed, then it can be said that you've attained the stage of self-realization.
Well, he's not practicing Shuddha Bhakti, though.
No, yeah, I'm making a comparison here. I mean, this is just a comparison. So similarly, we chant Hare Krishna, but we're completely charmed by Maya. And it's just a matter of time before someone walks through the door, we're taken out. And we're kind of like gripping on with the teeth and trying, in the association, though, is to carry on. Whereas in the case of the Ruchi Bhakta, Lord Chaitanya said, na danam, na janam, na sundari, etc. He's actually not charmed by the material world whatsoever anymore at this. And unless he commits some heinous offense, his consciousness is completely pure. So my question, unless he is experiencing something higher from his Krishna consciousness, it's not the full-blown revelation, but it must be some ingress of the substantial Swarup Shakti in order for there to be the continuous disenchantment from the material world. And also,
well, I guess that I said, though, even for the new bhakta.
But we're not disenchanted. We're totally enchanted.
We're just maintaining. But we're only enchanted 99% of the day, not 100% of the day like we used to be. Otherwise, the bhaktas wouldn't be at the temple spending hours every morning chanting Hare Krishna. There's some attraction to Krishna. That's called Adau Shraddha. There's something there. It might only be 2% of my consciousness. And the material attraction might be 98% of my consciousness. But at least there's something there. In like a needle out like a plow. It's come in. Somehow. There's one drop there. So it is Shuddha Bhakti. It is Shuddha Nam, but completely covered over by a tongue that is suffering from jaundice. Not just our tongue, but all of our senses, our whole mind is suffering from jaundice. So it is about the level of realization. Anybody who comes into the Krishna consciousness movement, unless they're keeping on the side some other practices like demigod worship or, academic type of acquisition of spiritual knowledge or, karmic good deeds like charity and this, that, and the other thing, they're actually practicing Shuddha Bhakti. Their mind might be contaminated with zillions of material desires. But that's not what anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavartam means. It doesn't say that you're only practicing Shuddha Bhakti when your mind is completely free of all material desires and desires for knowledge and this and that. That's not what it means. What it means is that when your practice of bhakti isn't mixed with karmic processes for attaining perfection. See, the karmis, they think, and when we say karmis, we don't mean the non-devotees. The non-devotees are vikarmis. They're just out there performing sinful activities, doing everything on a whim, not according to shastric injunctions. Karmi means one who very nicely follows the Vedic literature, because if I do this kind of work and this kind of puja and this, that, and the other thing, I am going to go to the heavenly planets. I'm going to have a better birth in my next life. I'm going to be freed from karma. I'll get some kind of liberation. That's a karmi. So when Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadya navritam, what he's referring to is all this prevalent practice in Vedic culture of karma yoga, trying to attain perfection in life and attain the absolute through acts of karma, and jnana yoga, acts of jnana, trying to attain perfection in life or to know the absolute truth through the path of jnana. Throw those practices away. Leave them at the front door. When you come to the temple, you take off your shoes, right? That means leave everything at the front door. Just come in barefooted. You might have all these practices, leave them at the front door, and just come here and practice Shuddha Bhakti. That doesn't mean that your mind's not contaminated with a zillion material attractions, but you're practicing Shuddha Bhakti. But because of those material desires and what have you, anarthas in the heart, we're not perceiving it properly. We're not getting the benefit. It still tastes bitter. It's a big, big discipline to drag myself out of bed to go to Mangal Arti and offer the flowers at Guru Puja and sit during Bhagvatam class and pretend I'm awake. And it's a big struggle. But other devotees, they're like, Jai, I get to offer flowers to Srila Prabhupada and get the dust of his lotus feet. I get to go to Mangal Arti. I get to sit in Bhagavatam class. They're getting ecstasy out of it. So they're both practicing the same Shuddha Bhakti, but one with contaminated heart and one with a pure heart. So they're getting different, perceptions and realizations out of it. But if you're chanting Hare Krishna during japa period, and at the end of every round you go to the side and you do your Ganesh puja, and then you come back and you chant Hare Krishna, and then you do a little Lakshmi puja over here, and that's not Shuddha Bhakti. You're still mixing your spiritual practices with other things that fall into the platform of karma or jnana or yoga. So we should thank you for this discussion, because it should give us all increased appreciation that Prabhupada has given us, despite our very fallen and unqualified condition. Prabhupada has allowed us to practice Shuddha Bhakti. Usually that was not, you had to be like a Pukka Brahmin, this, that, and the other thing to be invited into the school. Now we've been invited into the school of Shuddha Bhakti despite our very, very, very fallen condition. And by taking the dust of his lotus feet every day and offering our words and body and mind in his service, then we can keep going forward and get realization that we're actually practicing Shuddha Bhakti, get the benefit of it. Why chant Hare Krishna and just be bored at the end of it when you could chant Hare Krishna and be ecstatic at the end of it? Okay, it's kind of late. Maybe we should stop there. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.